Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Baby Reindeer is a British black comedy / drama thriller on Netflix that came out on the 11th of April 2024. The show has taken the world by storm and has become one of the highest viewed shows of the year. However, while the show is apparently a true story with some changes having been made to protect the identities of the real people involved, there is now real-life drama that has happened as a result of the show. So in this video we're going to be going through a timeline of all of the drama that has happened and why there is now a lot of scrutiny being put on Baby Reindeer and its creator. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Please be aware that this video does contain spoilers, and there may also be topics discussed that some viewers might find distressing. What is Baby Reindeer and the drama? So I'm first going to go through what Baby Reindeer is about and briefly explain the background of the drama surrounding the real life people involved. Okay, so Baby Reindeer is a British black comedy / drama thriller on Netflix, which was written and created by Scottish comedian / writer Richard Gadd, who also stars in the show as the titular character. The show tells an apparent true story based on Richard's real life. However, the names of the characters and some elements of the story were reportedly changed to protect the identities of the real people involved. So the story is set in 2015 and Richard plays the character of Donnie, who is a bartender working at a pub in London who is trying to break into the world of comedy by becoming a comedian. One day, a lady called Martha comes into the pub, and because she's upset, Donnie offers her a free cup of tea to cheer her up. Martha comments that when she was a child, she had a toy of a baby reindeer, and that Donnie reminds her of that toy, which is why the show is called Baby Reindeer. Martha is portrayed as a serial liar, and she becomes attached to Donnie, and later becomes obsessed with him and then starts to stalk him as well as interfere in his life. The stalking happens over a long period, and during that time, Martha apparently sends Donnie 41,000 emails, 350 hours worth of voicemails, hundreds of social media posts, as well as physical letters. She also stalks Donnie outside his house, intimately assaults Donnie, attacks Donnie's girlfriend, who is trans, which is relevant to the rest of the storyline, and also makes up false allegations against Donnie's father to get him in trouble. Eventually, Donnie reports Martha to the police, and Martha has a previous conviction for stalking, so Martha then gets arrested and spends 9 months in prison. There is also a separate storyline in the show that happened several years before, where Donnie had a relationship with a male TV writer / producer called Darian, and Donnie struggles with his sexuality of being attracted to men. Darian gives Donnie career advice and promises to help his career as a comedian. But Darian encourages Donnie to use drugs, and while under the influence, Darian repeatedly intimately assaults Donnie. So that's a brief overview of the storyline of Baby Reindeer. And there are of course many more parts to the storyline, but it would take me too long to mention every single plot point, but those are the main plot points of the show. As I said earlier, the show's creator, Richard Gadd, said that all of this is a true story based on his real life, but the names of the characters and some details of the story have been changed in order to hide the real identities of the people involved. However, the drama then came when viewers started to try and find out who the real-life people were that the show is based on, and this involved people going through old social media posts as well as other details. And in the end, the real-life Martha was apparently identified, and that's where the drama began. Let's talk more about that now. The real people are identified. So, as I mentioned earlier, because Baby Reindeer was such a huge hit and exploded in popularity, there was also massive interest in people trying to figure out who the real-life people are who inspired the characters from the show. According to an article in the Business Insider, a forensic psychologist called Dr. Ruth Tully said that TV shows like Baby Reindeer can turn viewers into so-called, quote, armchair detectives who take it upon themselves to track down the real people. And this is what happened in this case, and the two main characters on the show that people are trying to track down and figure out who they are Martha, the stalker, and also Darian, the abuser. Let's start with Darian. So, as I said earlier, the character of Darian is based on a real person who intimately assaulted Richard/Donnie and works as a powerful TV producer and writer. After the show came out, people started to speculate that Darian was based on a writer, actor and producer named Sean Foley, who previously worked as the artistic director at the Birmingham Repertory Theatre and recently stepped down from the role. As a result of this, Sean then started to receive a lot of hate online as well as death threats. Richard, the creator of the show, then posted an Instagram story where he asked people to stop speculating who the real-life people are. The Instagram story said, "Hi everyone, people I love, have worked with and admire, brackets including Sean Foley, are unfairly getting caught up in speculation. Please don't speculate on who any of the real life people could be, that's not the point of our show. Lots of love, Richard." Sean Foley later tweeted and said, "Police have been informed and are investigating all defamatory, abusive and threatening posts against me." But some people in the comments on Twitter were saying that Sean may still be guilty and that Richard's Instagram story didn't necessarily rule Sean out as the real-life perpetrator. However, many people have taken Richard's Instagram story to mean that Sean is not who the character is based on and that Sean is being unfairly vilified. The speculation about this also increased after a comment that Richard Osman made. Richard Osman is a well-known writer and TV presenter, and recently he said on his podcast called The Rest is Entertainment that everyone in the industry knows who the real-life Darian is. Apparently, the show's creator, Richard Gadd, had been very open with people in the past about who the real person is that Darian is based on. Richard Osman further said on his podcast that the actor who plays Darian on the show looks very similar to Sean Foley, which he said is, quote, "such a weird, bizarre thing to do because now Sean is being unfairly persecuted." But Richard Osman said that it's not Sean because, quote, "people in the industry know who it is and it's definitely not him." And this then made people want to try and find out even more who it is that Darian is based on, because it seems like it's a well-known secret in the industry. But so far, no one has been officially identified, although many names have been speculated on social media. And that's all the information we have for the time being about that side of the story. The other character on the show that has received even more scrutiny is Martha the Stalker, as she is arguably the main antagonist of the show. And the search term, quote, "Baby Reindeer Real Martha" surged in popularity on Google, with people trying to figure out who the real Martha is. Because the show uses real messages and social media posts that Richard Stalker sent him in real life, people then started to cross-reference and track down these social media posts. And according to a Business Insider article, at the end of April, some TikTok users said that they had found these tweets that the person sent to Richard, and as a result, the apparent real Martha was identified as a woman named Fiona Harvey. Then, on the 27th of April, the Daily Mail published an interview with an unnamed person who said that they were the real person that inspired the character of Martha. The unnamed person, who asked to remain anonymous, said in the interview that the story in the show is untrue and said, quote, "I'm a victim, he's written a bleep show about me." And in the article, they mention that the woman who is supposed to be the real-life Martha named Fiona bears a lot of similarities to the character of Martha, not only in terms of physical appearance, but also because they are both Scottish, apparently studied law at university, are about 20 years older than Richard Gadd, and they use, quote, "highly sexualized language." In the Daily Mail article, the unnamed person also says, quote, "I've never owned a toy baby reindeer, and I wouldn't have had any conversation with Richard Gadd about a childhood toy either." And they also said that they were considering taking legal action against Richard and Netflix. But for the time being, people were quite convinced that Fiona was the real Martha and that she was also the unnamed person who spoke to the Daily Mail, but that had not been officially confirmed. However, it was then announced on the 8th of May that Fiona would be doing an interview with journalist Piers Morgan on his YouTube channel to talk about the allegations made against her. And this interview intensified the drama even further, with lots of new dramatic details coming out. So let's talk more about that now. Fiona Harvey's interview with Piers Morgan. On the 8th of May, journalist Piers Morgan tweeted announcing that he would be interviewing Fiona Harvey. And the tweet said, "World exclusive, the real-life Martha from Baby Reindeer breaks cover and gives me her first TV interview about the smash hit Netflix show. Fiona Harvey wants to have her say and, quote, set the record straight. Is she a psycho stalker? Find out tomorrow on Piers Uncensored." The next day, the 50-minute long interview was published on Piers' YouTube channel and has amassed over 6 million views in just one day. The interview with Fiona contained a lot of revelations and accusations, so I'm going to go through the main points now. Before I start though, I just want to quickly mention that many people have criticised this interview and said that it was exploitative, and there is speculation that Fiona may be mentally unwell and that Piers shouldn't have interviewed her. For example, Stuart Heritage for The Guardian wrote an article which said that the interview, quote, reeked of grubby exploitation and that, quote, the media are gleefully parading a mentally ill woman around for clicks. However, it has not been confirmed whether Fiona does have a mental illness, but many people got the impression that she does, based on her behaviour in the interview, which apparently is very similar to the behaviour and personality of the character of Martha from the TV show. And so I just wanted to mention this detail beforehand, as it's just something to potentially bear in mind when considering the interview. But as I said, all of this is just unverified speculation at this point. Anyway, let's move on to the actual interview between Fiona and Piers. So what I'm going to do is, I'll go through all of the main points of the interview, and I'll give any background information where necessary. So to start with, Fiona said that although it is true that she did meet Richard Gadd in a pub in around 2015, she says that she never stalked him. She also denied the claims that she had sent him 41,000 emails, as had been reported by Richard in a 2019 interview with The Independent. Fiona said about this, quote, I don't think I sent him anything. There may have been a couple of emails, jokey banter, but that's it. And she clarified that she perhaps sent him around 10 emails, but no more. When Piers asked if Fiona had watched Baby Reindeer, Fiona said, quote, no, I think I'd be sick. It's taken over enough of my life. I find it quite obscene. I find it horrifying, misogynistic. He's making money out of my misery. He's making money out of untrue facts. He's the ultimate misogynist. However, in the comment section on the interview, people were saying that Fiona claims that she has not watched the show, but during the interview, she seems to be very familiar with the details and the storylines of the show, which doesn't quite add up. Piers then asked if it was true that Fiona had told Richard that he looked like a baby reindeer toy that she had when she was a child. Fiona said that that part was true, and that it was also Christmas time when they met, so there were reindeer in the shops too, which is also part of the reason she made that comparison. But people in the comments pointed out that this went against what Fiona had previously said anonymously to the Daily Mail when she said that she never told Richard about her childhood baby reindeer toy. Throughout the interview, Fiona denied any allegations of stalking Richard and said that it was, quote, a work of fiction, a work of hyperbole. Fiona also made a surprising allegation that Richard had once propositioned her for sex, but she declined. In the show, we see that they often use the expression, quote, fix someone's curtains, which is a euphemism for sex. And Fiona said that one time Richard asked her, quote, would I like my curtains fixed? And Fiona apparently declined. And Fiona went on to say in the interview, quote, I gave him the brush off big time. I think, subtly so. But the bottom line is that no, I don't fancy little boys without jobs. At one point in the interview, Fiona said that she doesn't know much about technology and she's not very tech savvy. And Piers said that it would be very easy to prove whether she did send 41,000 emails to Richard, as well as the other social media posts and voicemails. And Piers asked Fiona if she would be willing to hand over her laptop and phone to the police so that they could check if this was true, and Fiona said yes. Fiona did also say that she has at least 6 email accounts and multiple mobile phones. She explained this by saying, quote, I like to keep people on different phones and different emails, it's just easier. So you have some for your utilities, some for your close friends, whatever. She also said that she never contacted Richard by phone because she didn't have his phone number. Fiona had also claimed during the interview that she has a photographic memory, but then at other points in the interview, she seemed to struggle to remember details such as how many email accounts she has or what grade she got in her law degree. Fiona then said about the show, quote, "It is completely untrue and very career damaging. I want to rebut that. I'm not a stalker, it's just complete nonsense." It was also pointed out that on the show, the character of Martha is sentenced to prison time at the end of the show, and apparently has a previous conviction for stalking. But Fiona said that that is untrue and she does not have a criminal record. And according to an article in Stylecaster, although UK arrests and criminal records are public information, the Human Rights Act can stop any criminal conviction information being released unless the courts release them. And as of right now, there doesn't seem to be any official information to confirm whether Fiona does or does not have a criminal record. Fiona then claimed that because of all of this false information in the show, she is planning on taking legal action against Richard and Netflix. And when Fiona was asked by Piers if she had instructed lawyers, Fiona said yes. Piers then asked her whether she had a message for Richard, and Fiona said, quote, "Leave me alone please, get a life, get a proper job, I am horrified at what you've done." However, just before the Piers Morgan interview came out, according to the Daily Record, Fiona said on Facebook that Piers was a, quote, bully and a twerp, and that he had tried to, quote, trigger her emotions. She also said that she only received £250 to appear in the interview, and that Piers had, quote, used her and was trying to, quote, trip me up. So it appears that Fiona was not very happy with how the interview went. And as I mentioned earlier, many people, including articles written about the interview, have said that the interview made them feel uncomfortable. And they criticised Piers for doing the interview, saying that Fiona appears to be vulnerable and may potentially be mentally unwell, and perhaps is not able to make informed decisions, although this is still just speculation. And since all of this drama happened, Richard, Gadd and Netflix have received some criticism from people, saying that they did not safeguard the people involved and that they did not change the details of the story enough to protect the real people's identities. And some people even went as far as to blame Richard, saying that he has caused multiple people to become implicated in this drama even though they may be innocent. However, there were also many people defending Richard, saying that he has a right to share his story, and many people believe that Fiona is lying. However, at the moment, this is mostly speculation and there doesn't seem to be any concrete evidence either way, so we will have to see whether any further details come out about this to prove who is telling the truth and who is lying. So there you go, there was a video explaining the timeline of the drama about the show Baby Reindeer. Please remember that these are real people involved in this case, and a lot of these details have not yet been officially proven, so please do not send any hate to anyone involved, and be mindful of what you post online, and that includes in the comments on this video. This video is also for entertainment purposes only, and I'm not validating any of the information in this video, I'm simply reporting on facts that have come from other sources. So let me know in the comments if you've watched Baby Reindeer yet. And what did you think about the show? If you'd like to get early access to my videos as well as exclusive content, you can become a member of my Patreon and you'll unlock these amazing benefits, and I'll put a link in the description. Please make sure you like, comment and share this video as it really helps support my channel. And of course, please make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date about new uploads. Thanks for watching and I hope you'll join me again in future videos. Thank you, bye!